Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Miss Brianne, and welcome back to another meeting of Sensory Friends. In case you're recently joining us, Sensory Friends is a program where we meet once a month during the school year, and we create all these fun sensory crafts that will help you relax, and you can play with them, and they're fun. Now usually we meet in person and I usually read a story and then we do a fun little sensory craft, but due to circumstances we can't do that right now. So until we're able to do so again, we're coming to you virtually from the Westhampton Free Library, so you can make these crafts in the comforts of your own home. Fun, huh? But anyway, in light of the holiday season, it's all about the snow and the trees and the gingerbread. And it's just that beginning of winter thing, tradition. But today we are going to focus on gingerbread. And I have a very fun gingerbread sensory craft for you guys to make today. However, before we do that, I am going to read you a story. And the story that I will read to you today is called Gingerbread Baby. So, Gingerbread Baby. The author and the illustrator is Jan Brett. Now, the author writes the words to the story, and the illustrator draws the pictures of the story. And the publisher is Putnam's Sons. Now the publisher is what puts the book together, is the place that puts the book together and sends it to the bookstores to sell. But that is the publisher. So, we ready? All right, here we go. And take a look at the illustrations. See, this is one illustration. This is all copyright info. Take a look at the pattern as I read this to you. We ready? Here we go. It was cold outside. It was warm inside. A fine day for gingerbread, Maddie thought. Maddie's mother put the big blue bowl on the table and lit the stove. Maddie took down a worn-looking cookbook with old-fashioned writing on the cover. He opened it up to the page that said Gingerbread Boy. So, it looks like this illustration is Maddie getting ready. And in this illustration, it looks like we got the recipe. Ready to go on? Here we go. Oh. All right. They measured and mixed. Maddie rolled the dough into the shape of a gingerbread boy, and they popped him in the oven. Bake a full 8 minutes. No more, no less. Do not peek, the recipe read. Maddie listened to the clock. Tick, tock, tick. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 3, 4, 5. Maddie couldn't wait any longer. He opened the oven door to take a peek. Instead of a gingerbread boy, out jumped a gingerbread baby. See, he opened the oven door too soon, and now we got a gingerbread baby walking around. Let's see what happens. He pranced around the big blue bowl. I am the gingerbread baby, fresh from the pan. If you want me, catch me if you can. Okay, so it looks like here we got all the pots and pans ready. And here are the ingredients. Wow. It looks like it's showing you how to make gingerbread, huh? But the gingerbread baby over here looks like he's going to be running. Do you think Maddie will catch him? Well, let's find out. And here it looks like they're preparing the gingerbread and they cut out the gingerbread shape. All right. Maddie's mother reached for the gingerbread baby to put him back into the oven. But he ran all around the kitchen. The door opened and in came Maddie's father. "What's that delicious smell?" he asked as the gingerbread baby tumbled through his legs and outside into the yard. Uh-oh. And it looks like he's running away. And look at that. All right, he ran by the tabby cat. She twitched her tail and sprang at him. They rumbled and tumbled. But the gingerbread baby came out on top. Looks like he won that match, right? He ran toward the garden wall. The dog caught a whiff of tasty ginger and sniffed along behind him. But the gingerbread baby was halfway up when the dog caught up. He barked and barked as the gingerbread baby climbed over the wall. Looks like he's escaping. You think the dog will catch him? The cat couldn't, but can the dog? Let's see. Maddie was still inside. He heard his mother and father yelling. He heard a cat meowing and a dog barking. And he heard the gingerbread baby shouting, "Catch me if you can!" Maddie opened up the worn-looking cookbook for the second time. What do you think Maddie's going to bake? Let's take a minute so to think about that. Well, think about what Maddie is baking. Do you think the gingerbread baby will be caught? Let's find out. Meanwhile, the gingerbread baby wheeled on down the path and into the barn. The goats looked up as he somersaulted across their backs. The last one tried to catch him, but the gingerbread baby was too fast. Uh-oh. Take a look at this. Looks like Maddie's baking something. What could it be? Martha and Madeline were standing by the well when the gingerbread baby stopped to take a drink. They looked at each other and winked. Martha started to talk to him while Madeline tiptoed up behind him with the bucket. But they couldn't fool that gingerbread baby. Oh, it looks like Maddie's rolling out some dough. What is he making? Is he making more gingerbread? Could he be making some friends? Well, why don't we find out? He took a braid from Martha and a braid from Madeline and tied them in a knot and ran down the road. Uh-oh. Back in the house, Maddie stirred, mixed, and rolled the dough. He shaped it in it and put it in a pan and into the oven. Tick, tock, tick. 8 long minutes. This time he didn't peek. "I will catch him if I can," Maddie said to himself. How do you think Maddie's going to catch the gingerbread baby? What is he baking? Well, let's see. As he was bouncing along, the gingerbread baby saw a farm wagon just ahead. He jumped in and settled down for the ride, next to a mama pig. The smell of gingerbread was too much for her. She tossed him high in the air, closed her eyes, and opened her mouth. But the gingerbread baby twisted up in the air and came down hard on her porky snout. "I am the gingerbread baby. Too quick for the mother and the father. Too fast for the cat, the dog, the goats. Too clever for Martha and Madeline. Too smart for the mama pig. Who's left? Catch me if you can. Uh-oh. Let's see what happens. Oh, looks like Maddie's building something. Let's see what happens. Feeling smug, the gingerbread baby strolled along by himself until he came to a bridge that crossed over to the village. Just as he got onto the middle, he heard running feet behind him and saw a crowd of villagers ahead of him. The gingerbread baby was trapped. He jumped up onto the railing, backflipped through the air, and landed on a chunk of ice floating down the river. Wow, this gingerbread baby's smart. But look what Maddie's building. All right, here we go. The ice bobbed along with the gingerbread baby dancing on top and singing in a loud voice. Look at me, and what do you see? The best gingerbread baby ever! Until his feet got cold and he jumped. And he jumped ashore. Who was that watching from the trees? It was the fox. He crept up behind the gingerbread baby, ready to eat him up. But the fox couldn't help himself, and he licked his chops. Smack, smack. The gingerbread baby heard him and ran as fast as he could. Oh, it looks like Maddie's still putting together something. All right. Just when the fox was catching up, the gingerbread baby saw the milk and cheese man with his can of milk. The perfect hiding place, he thought. He lifted the lid and lowered himself inside. He was so pleased that he sang at the top of his gingerbread voice. Ha ha hee hee, you'll never find me. I am the gingerbread baby. Catch me if you can. Oh, it looks like Maddie's putting together a gingerbread house. Do you think that's for the gingerbread baby? Well, let's see. The milk and cheese man heard the gingerbread baby's voice. Who is meddling with my milk? He shouted and lifted the lid. But the gingerbread baby was ready. He jumped up and tweaked his nose. Oh, looks like everybody's chasing him now. Now, the milk and cheese man, the fox, the villagers, the mama pig, Martha and Madeline, the bleating goats, the barking dog, the meowing cat, the father and the mother were all after the gingerbread baby and getting closer. And he knew it. The brash baby was not as peppy and proud as he had been. He sniffed a familiar smell and followed his nose into the woods. Uh-oh, what can that be? And everybody's chasing the gingerbread baby. He couldn't believe what he saw. There, in the middle of a clearing, was a gingerbread house, frosted with sugar, covered with candy, and doors with peppermint handles wide open. The gingerbread baby clapped his hands with glee and ran inside. Oh, there's the house, and there's Maddie hiding to see if he can get the gingerbread baby. There's the fox. In a tick-tock tick, everyone arrived in the clearing. But all they found were a few bits of frosting, a peppermint candy, and some crumbs. The father exclaimed, "The gingerbread baby has finally met his match." "I wonder who it was," the mother said. "Let's go home and tell Maddie." Look, looks like Maddie's carrying the house away. leftovers. Hello, Maddie, his father said when they got home. We never did catch that gingerbread baby. All we found were some crumbs in the snow. I see you have been busy, his mother said, looking at the gingerbread house Maddie was holding. Too bad we never caught that gingerbread baby. Too bad, said Maddie. Oh, look at that. And there's the recipe book. Only Maddie could hear the tiny voice from inside the gingerbread house. And there's the house. But let's see. Ooh. There's the gingerbread baby. I'm the little gingerbread baby, lucky as can be, to be living in the house that Maddie made for me. Ooh. And that is the end of the story. So, was that a fun little story? Do you think there were any lessons to be learned? What do you boys and girls think? Well, making gingerbread is certainly fun, huh? Do you boys and girls make gingerbread at home? Or do you decorate gingerbread cookies and gingerbread houses? Now, we had a program earlier this month where you actually got to decorate a gingerbread house. Did any of you boys and girls do that program? Was it a lot of fun? Well, I hope so. But we're not going to be making gingerbread cookies or baking gingerbread houses today. Today, I am going to give you a recipe for gingerbread play dough. Doesn't that sound like a lot of fun? Alright, so we're going to put this to the side for now. And we are going to have our gingerbread play dough. So here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a mixing bowl. Some type of mixing spoon or plastic spoon. Ground ginger. Ground nutmeg. Ground cloves. Ground cinnamon, molasses, cooking oil, baking soda, cornstarch, and flour. And in addition, you're going to need some water. See something real quick? You're going to need a measuring spoon, that's a 1/4 teaspoon. A measuring spoon that is 1 teaspoon. And a measuring spoon that is 1 tablespoon. And in addition to that, you're going to need a measuring cup that is 1/4 of a cup. And a measuring cup that's a 1/2 a cup, because we're going to combine. And that is it. Alright, so are we ready? Now, you're going to have most of your ingredients in the craft kit that you picked up prior to this program. So all you'll really need to find at home if you have the kit is the mixing bowl, the measuring cups and the measuring spoons and water. But if you didn't get a chance to pick up the craft kit, make sure you have the rest of the ingredients with you. And you can go back to this video at any time, so there's no need to worry about that. But in any event, are we ready? Alright, let's begin. So we're going to take our cornstarch and we're going to measure out, we're going to need 3/4 of a cup. So we're going to measure out a 1/2 cup. I'm going to do this over the table because it gets messy. So we have a 1/2 cup. We're going to dump that in our bowl. And we're going to take 1/4 of a cup. And we're going to dump that in the bowl. So there's our cornstarch. Alright, so next up we're going to need 4 teaspoons of baking soda. So we're going to take our baking soda. We're going to take our teaspoon measuring spoon. We're going to measure out 4 teaspoons. So we got 1, 2, 3. Get that piece out. And 4. So we got our cornstarch and we got our baking soda in there. Next up, we're going to do 1/4 teaspoon each of our spices. So we're going to take our 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon and so we're going to measure out our ginger right here. So we got our ginger, our nutmeg, our cinnamon, and our cloves. So now with all of our spices in, we're going to take our plastic spoon and mix everything together until everything is mixed evenly. So just keep mixing that all in. See that? So once everything's all mixed, scrape that all in. So all that's mixed. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take our water. We're going to take our water and add 2 teaspoons. So we got 1 teaspoon and 2 teaspoons. So we got the water. Now we're going to take our cooking oil and we're going to measure 2 tablespoons of our cooking oil. So we have 1 tablespoon and 2 tablespoons. So that's our cooking oil. And then finally, oops, hold on. Finally, we're going to add 1/4 cup of molasses. So we're going to take our molasses. Hold on. So we're going to take our molasses. We're going to measure out 1/4 cup. Like so. And then we're going to pour it into our bowl. And use your spoon to scrape it out if needed. Alright, so I'm just going to put this in the sink. Just going to clean up something really quick. Alright, so now we got all our most of our wet ingredients in. Now we're just going to mix everything together. And you just keep mixing until it starts to be incorporated. And it's all going to bunch together. Take a look at that. And just keep slowly putting the dry ingredients in. But doesn't that look yummy? And it doesn't make that much dough. Alright, so now that we got that all together, the last thing we're going to do is we are going to take our flour and we're going to put 2 tablespoons of flour. So, one and 2. So I'm just going to throw this in the sink. And then we are going to mix the flour into our dough. First, use your spoon to mix it. And then you're going to take your hands and start incorporating everything together because now it's solid enough to do so. And that's what you'll just do. You just continue to mix. I'm going to get this bowl out of the way. And you just continue to knead the dough for a little bit until everything is incorporated. And you just keep going. And if you need to, if it's too sticky for you, you can always add more flour. If it's too stiff, you can add a little bit more corn oil, cooking oil, but as you can see, here is the dough. Doesn't that look good? But take a look at that. Isn't that great? And it smells nice too. But that is gingerbread play dough. It is very taste safe, so if you accidentally eat some, it's okay. But This is mostly for playing and not for eating, just to let you know. But it's made with all food ingredients. There's no cream of tartar, there's no salt. But it's a great dough. But anyway, Yvette, I hope you had fun today. I certainly had fun making this with you. This is Miss Brianne. Take good care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next program.